All right, the recording is in progress. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, relatives, and welcome to the 5th installment of Urban Art Biz, where we are focusing on Indigenous galleries today. We would like to thank our partners, Urban Shaman Contemporary Aboriginal Art Gallery, and all they do for the community. We are broadcasting live from Treaty 1 territory, the original lands of the Anishinaabe, the Cree, the Oji-Cree, the Dakota and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. We acknowledge and pay respects to our ancestors and to Shoal Lake 40 First Nation from where our water comes. So today we are talking about Indigenous galleries. And our guests are Jacques and Goddard, the founder and CEO of Canadian Plains Gallery, Daina Warren, the director of Urban Shaman Gallery, and Jocelyn Piirainen, the associate curator of Inuit art at the Winnipeg Art Gallery's Kalmayork Gallery. And I hope I pronounced that correctly. So what we are going to do is Daina is going to lead the conversation, and we're going to learn about the importance of Indigenous galleries and the vision that they share with the world, and what you can do as an artist, as someone who is interested in galleries, or perhaps want to have your own gallery, and hear about these fine people's journey to get to where they are and what it takes to run and curate a gallery. And so I'm going to turn my camera off, and we're going to leave it up to Daina, Jacques, and Jocelyn. And if you have questions, just write them in the chat and we will try to answer them as we go. Okay? All right. Enjoy and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Arlie. Thank you, Creative Manitoba. This has been such a great series of workshops that we put on. I think going back to April, some really amazing presenters talk to us about all aspects of their practices. And so when Arlie and I were talking about what the fall lineup would look like, we thought, well, a lot of people seem to have questions around kind of what do galleries do, and of course there's so many different types, and we just wanted to kind of take maybe a snapshot of what's happening locally in Winnipeg, and just I guess how artists can get in touch with each and every one of us and talk to us about their work, and just yeah, maybe we can explain a little bit more about what we do and how we do it. My name is Daina Warren. As Arlie had mentioned, I'm the director at Urban Shaman Contemporary Aboriginal Art Gallery. It's a very long name. I'm from the Akimik Montana Cree Nation, which is Musqueam, Alberta, central Alberta. And I've been directing at the gallery for about 10 years now, over 10 years. My anniversary was just in August. So maybe what I'll do is I can kind of wrap it up with urban stuff. I thought maybe even show you a little bit of the newest show, Nadia Mir. I think she's a really fantastic artist, and kind of encapsulates the type of work that we exhibition, what we show at our gallery. But yeah, I think what I'll get both Jacques and Jocelyn to do is introduce yourselves, and yeah, just maybe give a little information about yourselves, and then we'll dive in and we'll go maybe gallery by gallery. So you're both okay with that? So who would like to go first?
I can start, sure.
Sure, great. And sorry, I just had to go get my electrical cord because I realized I'm running out of juice right now, so I'll be right back. But you can get going there, Jacques.
Okay. I'm Jacques and Goddard. I run Canadian Plains Gallery, and it used to be the Aboriginal Center in Winnipeg, but now it's Negan Center at 181 Higgins, which is the old train station on Main and Higgins. I started here as a student in 1995 in a group called the Aboriginal Arts Group. They had it was a huge membership. They had 300 artists. They had painters, carvers, musicians, designers, poets, you name it. They had a full stable of musicians. And so that's kind of where I got my start. I don't know how deep they want me to get into it. I can elaborate. That's just a brief intro. I'll elaborate in more in a minute.
That sounds great. Thanks, Jacques.
Hi, Jacques. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, my name is Jocelyn Piirainen. I'm an Inuk originally from Iqaluit, which is Cambridge Bay in Nunavut. I've only been a curator for about 5 years now, and my background is primarily in film history. I studied at Carleton University in Ottawa, and I've worked now in both artist-run centers and also now a very large national and international institution, which is the Winnipeg Art Gallery and Kalmayok. I've been at the Winnipeg Art Gallery now for about a little over 2.5 years now. It'll be 3 in the upcoming year. Yeah.
Wow, that flew by. It just feels like you just got here. Great. Thank you both so much for joining us. I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. I do have to give a little story because poor Jacques probably gets a lot of traffic from us. A lot of people tend to phone the gallery and they've got some print that was gifted to them from a cousin, from another cousin, from some uncle that had it. And then they're always asking us if we buy art, which we don't. And I'll explain that a little bit more when I get talking about urban. But yeah, as soon as we find out somebody wants to make a sale on an art piece, we always like scoot them over to Canadian Plains Gallery. So that's kind of also another way that art moves around the city, I guess. So
Yeah, thanks.
yeah. So maybe we'll just keep going in this order. Jacques, if you don't mind, it'd be really great to hear about the Canadian Plains Gallery. And as I was running around trying to frantically find my cord, I think you did give the address, right?
Yeah, we're in room 107 or 106, pardon me. We used to be in room 407 on the 4th floor, and we opened up in 96, but now we're on the main floor in room 106. And the Aboriginal Arts Group had a membership of 300 artists, like I was saying, but they had a board of directors and an ED, but they had no representation for the artists. So they got funding through the federal government, and they had a partnership with Red River College to train 10 people to become managers for the artists. So my background is poetry and photography. I've always been a poet and a photographer. And I guess my home community is St. Laurent as well, as I'm in Métis from St. Laurent. So I was accepted into the program, and it was like an 8-month program. So we had to work together as a group to put on a powwow, to do an art show, to do a book launch, to do a play, to introduce a movie. So we got all different duties every time we put on an event, just kind of give us a crash course on how to do something from beginning to end. And we're all supposed to work for the Aboriginal Arts Group after the program was over, but there was a conflict between the lady running the course and the ED at the time, and the board of directors dissolved the organization right after our program was over. So instead of all 10 of us staying there and working with the Aboriginal Arts Group, it dissolved and we kind of went our own way. And I got a contract with the Manitoba Craft Council for the summer. I did some work with them. And then in the fall, I went back to the Aboriginal Center and told them I wanted to rent the space that was empty for the last 3 months. And I started the Canadian Plains Gallery out of that space. And I was working with a lot of artists already. So it became, my client base was already built in, if you will. Like I knew a lot of the artists. And then I was learning about the culture at the same time, because I grew up Roman Catholic, so I didn't have that involvement in more the Indigenous side. Like we hunted, trapped, fish. We had that very Métis lifestyle of living off the land. But once we started with the Aboriginal Arts Group, May Louise Campbell came in as our elder, and we learned to, and we smudged every Monday mornings. I learned about smudging. I learned what, what the medicines were. And then through the artists bringing their paintings and carvings in, I started learning what all the animals meant, what the colors they used meant. We're putting on, even after the Aboriginal Arts Group on my own, I developed an artist in the school program. So we had artists going out into the community doing workshops for schools and community centers. We offered powwow demonstrations for schools. So I was learning all the different dance styles and what the drum meant through the community. I was going to sweats through a group that was in the Aboriginal Center of the time. So I really got involved and really embraced the culture, and it felt like I found the missing part of me. I was really soaking it in, like I wanted to know more and more. And I got my name and my colors, and very, very respectful to the earth, like all the teachings. And these are things I started sharing with other groups. So through the artists, I got to learn a lot about the culture. And so it's a for-profit gallery that we have. We have received zero funding from day one. So I live off of our sales. And even those are, struggling at times. Like we had, 15 really lean years, and sometimes still to this day with the COVID, really affected our sales in the last 2 years. And we were even closed for a while last year. And so we set up because I wanted to help the artists make money, because I see a lot of them struggling day to day, coming in, trying to sell an original piece. And I seen a lot of times they would sell for a lot less than what it was worth because they really needed that money for that, supplies or diapers or food and stuff. So through the artists, we had a kind of a development program where I was being a professional photographer. It really helped. So I started helping them by photographing their original artwork and setting them up for 12 by 18-inch prints, and then they would go get prints made of their originals. So now they had a second means of income. So instead of someone having to sell an original for really cheap because they needed the money, now they're like, well, I'll sell you a print for $40 instead of having to sell my original that's worth $500 for $100. So it kind of created an alternative sense of income for them. And that's how I was helping them put their biographies together. Because anyone who buys a painting, they want to have the artist bio to go with it, because they want to know who created that piece of work that they have. So it creates that connection to the artist, to the art. And even if there's a story that goes with the painting or carving, they're really appreciative of that as well.
Yeah, it's amazing to hear how it all came about. And so for, like, as you say, that you're very much about supporting the artists, like what would be kind of maybe a typical negotiation? Like, do people come right into the gallery itself, like walk in with their pieces, or do you also maybe go out and find artists as well to represent?
Yeah, if we go into communities, a lot of times artists will come and see us at a trade show or at a set up at a powwow or something. People would come and introduce themselves and show their work, or if we're at a trade show or something. Or most of the time though, artists are coming in the door, they hear about the gallery and they have something they want to sell or they want to put on consignment. And even our consignment we set up in favor of the artist, because a lot of places do wholesale or 50-50 split, or some you even hear some places do 60% and the artist gets 40%. But we're set up where the artists were getting 80% of the sale and the gallery would take 20, because we're really trying to push for income for the artists. And and you become friends with all of them basically. You get to meet them and you're working on their resume with them, and you're helping them get prints of their work going. And so you develop a lot of friendships as well over time.
Also, I'm sure people are very curious. Can you show us the gallery, because you're sitting right in it? I know that.
Yeah, I guess I could. I'll have to bring up my camera.
We lost your video there.
Oh no. Can you hear me? How do I get my video back? I'll try and wiggle the cord here.
Didn't mean for you to lose your navigation there.
Anything there?
No, not yet.
Darn.
Your visual. Well, okay. I'm sure people can also just go to the gallery. So it is at 181 Higgins. It's in the old train station, and it's such an amazing place to go and visit just to see the building. But the added bonus is the gallery that you can walk right into. Oh, there you go.
There you
Nice.
are. Okay.
There it is. There's the gallery. Yeah, very full. Oh, and we lost you again. That was a quick view. Thanks so much, Jacques. I don't want to keep causing you technical difficulties here.
My core.
Now we're having audio problems as well. Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, so there's all types of work. Someone that says looks amazing, full and friendly. Yeah, and so was there a particular reason for the gallery to be housed at the train station, or is that just kind of like an opportunity that arose
Well,
along?
It was where I started with the Aboriginal Arts Group. It was a space I was familiar with. It felt like a community here because there was, school going on. There was, Aboriginal languages of Manitoba at the time, Original Women's Network, health and wellness, men's healing, women's groups. Like there was a full community atmosphere. The Head Start program was here. So it felt like a community in the building already. So it kind of felt like home to me, and the space was available. So I took advantage of that, and it seemed like a proper place for authentic Indigenous work to be an Indigenous center. And people ask, and everything in here is Indigenous. I'd say 90% local, but there is some stuff from Northern Ontario and Saskatchewan, and a little bit of West Coast pieces, and a little bit of New Mexico jewelry.
Oh, cool. Anything from up north?
Yeah, we do. There's a handful of Inuit artists who call Winnipeg home now, and they bring in pieces as well, and some ulus and carvings and tapestries, and so we have a little collection of Inuit art.
That's great. So awesome. And I'm just gonna look. I think Arlie had a really good question. Some of the things she posed to us. I think it's an interesting one. It's kind of maybe a bit complex, but what are the roles of community within your gallery?
I embrace it. Like I got involved with, in 1995, I got involved with the Aboriginal Day. So we had a community that was, Aboriginal language of Manitoba, MMF, Winnipeg region, the Friendship Center, myself, and a few other people created a committee, and we started Aboriginal Day at the Forks. So for the first 2 years, we had it at the amphitheater right on the river. We put on a fashion show, a concert, some fiddling, jigging. And then after 2 years there, the Forks offered us the main stage. So for 10 years, I was putting on the main concert there, helping with the organizing of it, emceeing the event. And it grew. Like on the 10th year, we had something like 10,000 people in the audience. And then after that, APTN took over the concert component. But we started from scratch to help develop it into what Aboriginal Day Festival at the Forks is today. And so I'm always interested in community things, like we did the, even once we started the gallery, we're still working with fashion designers and the models and with their portfolios and headshots and catalog stuff for images for the designers, and working with the POW dancers still. And so I was, I'm very involved with all the artists still, even though we did have the gallery. But now I'm kind of more focused on the gallery component of it, and because it's spreading myself too thin wasn't good for anyone, I guess. So it's more to focus in one area. We're doing a lot online, like from the early days, we had a website and we had our images online, but we didn't really do much e-commerce on it. But with our current website, and it seems to be, really good. Like last year, before Christmas, we were almost getting like daily sales on our website. So we're, learning how to ship and stuff, and how to properly package things for shipping. And so we're getting more and more activity. But then again, I got to catch up because there's a lot of pieces in the gallery that aren't online yet. So then you got to make sure that if something sells, take it offline right away, because then if someone else buys it, then you don't have the piece. Then you got to, work on them with getting something else that they like instead. So got to keep on the ball, I guess, is the main thing.
So we'll probably, if people have more questions, as Jacques did, like Arlie said, just put them in the chat anytime, and I'll notify the presenters when there's a second to answer questions. One amazing last tidbit of information you shared with Arlie and myself is the amazing cultural work you're doing, and I hope you don't mind talking a little bit about that.
No, well, through the community and the artists, I started going to sweats, and I went to Sundance, not to participate, but to I guess outside support, or to participate in that. But as through the artists, I've learned all the animals, what they mean to the artist, the colors they use. So we put together all the knowledge and that has been bestowed upon me, and then so I share it with others now. So I'll go into schools and share with kids, like this, there's the 7 sacred teachings, but it goes beyond that. Like all animals have a teaching to them. So I'll go and do animal teachings, what the colors mean, intro to smudging, what medicines are used and why we use these medicines, the powwow dance styles, what the drum represents, and the do's and don'ts at a powwow. There's the etiquette to it. We set up a teepee village and put on a festival years ago. So, you learn the teepee pole teachings as, people are building the teepee, sweat lodge teachings, information about the Sundance, the history of the Sundance, medicinal plants, stone energies, color meanings, and traditional materials to make the colors, information about sharing circles. Then we have the arrival of Columbus and what it did to our traditional way of life, and the wars, the disease, the slavery, the impact of the European trade, and what, once people started killing animals for the furs, it kind of lost, stopped not stopped, but it changed the way we looked at animals forever. Instead of, they're almost higher than us, like we really looked up to the animals, and we learned our teachings through the animals, and we highly respected them. And it was only killed out of necessity, and then nothing was ever wasted from that animal. Like it's, the fur, the bones, the intestines, even the food inside the stomach was put back out for the other animals to eat. Like nothing was ever wasted, and that got lost once people started killing animals just for the furs. So the impact on how it changed our way of life, and then the losing of the land and developing of reservations and residential schools, and the impact on the communities. So these are a lot of things I have in my workshop that I learned through the community and through the artists that I was fortunate enough to be in this situation to have access to that information, and so I consider myself fortunate to be where I am and to learn through the community.
For sure. Yeah, and so just I want people to know that in case you're looking for any kind of information like that. So great, thank you, Jacques. And now we'll switch to Jocelyn. And welcome, Jocelyn.
There we go. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so if people know, there's actually quite a few people that work at the Winnipeg Art Gallery, but the amazing part is that you've been focused more on the creating of the new Inuit Center. I tried to say it properly. I tried to get the phonetics down yesterday. But also, I think you're helping out with a bunch of other programming and things like that. So yeah, just tell us all about yourself there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So, well, as I mentioned in my introduction, I've only been working at the Winnipeg Art Gallery now for about two and a half years. And when I first arrived at the gallery, they were just kind of in the, well, I guess maybe the middle phases of constructing Kaumaok. So that was really exciting to see, and also moving to Winnipeg from Ottawa as well was just a really kind of exciting time for me personally. And so Kaumaok and the Winnipeg Art Gallery, we do hold one of the largest contemporary Inuit art collections. Maybe nationally or internationally. And so with Kaumaok opening, we really wanted to bring out a lot of these Inuit carvings, mostly into this beautiful visible vault. That is a fully glass vault, 2 stories, and it holds about I think around 5,000 of our Inuit carvings. And it's a really beautiful, beautiful new space that is a lot more welcoming, for the community. The new entrance space itself is free for pretty much anybody to kind of come and visit and look around the new vaults and see and discover Inuit art, or Inuit who have come through the gallery space. I've heard quite a few comments now of people recognizing their family members, just by either seeing the stone or reading about the artists themselves. So that's been a really wonderful experience to know and learn that they're coming to an institutional space, that and to feel then welcome in it. Since historically, I feel like these larger institutional spaces haven't always quite been a whole lot welcoming for Indigenous folks. There's something about the spaces that maybe aren't just comfortable. But I feel like with Kaumaok, again, just the whole openness of it is really quite welcoming and inviting. So my job specifically then is I'm curating a number of shows, of Inuit specific shows. I've done 4 exhibitions, and co-curated with our previous contemporary and Indigenous curator, Jamie Isaac. 2 shows in the past, in these last 2.5 years. So that was really exciting. It was exciting, you know, to learn more about what's in our collection, and again to share these pieces too with not only the Inuit community but with the public. Yeah, that's that's what I've been doing. It really is a beautiful space, and it's added a lot more to the gallery space, and made Inuit art not only more visible, but it really pushes it to the forefront.
That's great. And can you speak to a little bit about maybe how projects are produced, like how are they put together, research, and maybe how artists are involved in that process?
Mm-hmm. So with curating our exhibitions, we get a number of proposals. We do receive a number of proposals of touring exhibitions, so other exhibitions that come from, you know, the Art Gallery of Ontario or other smaller galleries as well across Canada. So we do have like a proposal process that our curators go through and our executives go through. That was something. So again, I started sort of within the Artist-run center experience as a curator, and then moved into these larger institutions. So again, that process of going through different proposals and making sure that these proposals kind of go through different departments was kind of new to me. But yeah, so you know, these processes, they take a little bit longer, but we get there eventually to then accepting exhibitions, and then, you know, the long process of researching different artists, researching the materials, and you know, the histories of pieces, the stories behind pieces as well. That's something that's always interested me. In if there's a story that the artists are wanting to tell with specific pieces, then, you know, obviously the public should know about that too. Yeah, so then our gallery, with Kalmai opening as well, you know, it is kind of the new Inuit Arts Center, as maybe people know it as, but we're hoping for the future of this center, you know, not only bringing in more Inuit artists, but also highlighting more Indigenous artists through this new center, and really making space then for Indigenous folks. Yeah. Yeah.
Liz had posted a question. She's just wondering, do you also do studio visits?
I haven't actually done a whole lot of studio visits here in Winnipeg. I've done a couple now outside, but I would definitely be more open to studio visits in the city. Again, kind of being new to Winnipeg, I've been, you know, of course, with COVID, it was kind of, you couldn't really do anything. So I couldn't really explore a whole lot of these gallery spaces that I didn't know about. And it was a really tough year to really, try to connect with artists. But I'm hoping to do that, you know, now that we're sort of easing restrictions and being a little more comfortable. So if there's any suggestions, let me know.
That's awesome. Yeah, I forgot that you started pretty much just, well, I guess just a little while before the whole shutdown happened. So yeah, definitely would make it a bit harder to negotiate around the city. Um,
Can I ask Jocelyn some questions?
Yeah.
yeah, if you want a question, yeah, go for it.
What are some of the oldest pieces in the collection? Like how old would they be?
Yeah, I was looking through this too, and I believe some of the older pieces I think date to like the late, probably like the end of the 40s and like early 50s. Because that's sort of the kind of contemporary Inuit art period. That's when it first started, when kind of artists were making pieces like more geared towards, yeah, art being considered like artworks rather than like tools or you know, items for clothing. Yeah, so I think I believe the oldest piece probably would be around, yeah, late 40s, early 50s.
You notice a change in style from back then to more modern pieces?
Yeah, as I've been getting to know the collection a lot more, yeah, you see these really wonderful. There was like this whole abstract period too, and there's a number of different artists just playing around with different stones and very abstract carvings and drawings, and yeah, it's really fun to see that. That was probably around, yeah, the later 60s too, and early 70s when that happened. And yeah, it's interesting to see too, like the differences in the stone as you go from the different communities also across the north, and even, you know, stone that is from kind of northern, around the like Rankin Inlet, and even like down to Churchill as well. Yeah.
So I noticed some of the pieces that come in from the north are like, some communities are really vibrant green pieces and some are like a very dark matte black almost. So yeah, some beautiful stone coming out of there.
And you know, with the pieces now that are in the visible vault, when you do visit Kamayok, you can see that differences pretty explicitly, I guess. You know, you get these, yeah, beautiful, like almost jade colors in the stone, and then you go to like this really dark black gray, and yeah.
Does the material change? Like I know one artist who's contacted back home to get whalebone, and he said a lot of his family don't go on the land anymore, and so he doesn't have that access to whale bones and stuff like he used to. Is that, are you finding any of that, or?
I mean, I have known maybe a few artists, yeah, because of yeah, the availability then of like whalebone and even caribou antler too. It you know, obviously it depends on the time of year. You would need to get like caribou antler and even whalebone too. But and for the most part, you know, stone, I believe you could probably almost get, you know, all year round. Depending on when you want to go to. You probably don't want to go and quarry for stone like midwinter, but
Super hard to get.
yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah.
Thank you.
And guys, are you still adding to the collection right now? Are you guys doing acquisitions?
Yeah, so again, we have this whole acquisition process that we go through. We have we have a works of art committee that meet. We try to meet more often during the year, but usually we meet around I believe four 4 to 5 times a year. And you know, all year round, pretty much, both myself and our other curators are kind of bombarded with emails of donations, and you know, of course, now with our new center opening, it is mainly a number of Inuit art donations. So you know, that too is quite a long process, and we'll accept most donations, but yeah, some donations won't just go through, and so that's also another different process that I'm still learning about as well. But yeah, our acquisitions too is still also kind of a year-round thing, and it really is. We have been thinking about, yeah, a lot more of the contemporary artists, and acquiring more too from contemporary Inuit artists and Indigenous artists, and you know, we do want the gallery too, our collection, to reflect even local artists. I would love to yeah, explore more of the acquisitions from local artists. Mm-hmm.
That's great. Awesome. So once again, people, please put your questions in the chat if you have anything for Jocelyn or Jacques. Just because we have about 15 minutes left, I'll use 10 of those to discuss urban, and if it looks like we don't have any questions still, we can all have a final chat amongst ourselves. Also, Arlie, I always ask Arlie to jump in at the last moment too. So, so yes, this talk, once again, if people have just tuned in, it's Urban Art Biz, and we're speaking with Jacques Goddard and Jocelyn Piirainen and myself, all from 3 different, very different organizations, businesses that are galleries, and we all have different gallery designations.
Is it frozen?
Oh, I think she is frozen.
Gallery designation.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, hello.
You're frozen for a bit.
Oh, me? Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so just saying that there's 3 different locations, or 3 different types of galleries that we're talking with. The WAG being the largest public gallery, and we are an arts and center. So we are this kind of the smaller designation in the public gallery system. There's a lot of artisan centers in Winnipeg and across Canada. I think there's about 170 across Canada. There is about 4 of us now. There's OCC1 in Edmonton, Sagayawak in Regina. The First People's Artist Collective, I think it is. It's called in St. Albert, and Daphne in Montreal. So yeah, it's great. There's a sprinkling of us, our Indigenous mandated centers, and yeah, it's great to be in Winnipeg. It's such a great city and has such a huge density of Indigenous peoples. I think we're very fortunate, and I think it's such a great flavor to the city. So our programming, we're a nonprofit organization. So a lot of the funding, or how we support ourselves, is through funding. We access 3 levels of operating funding from the Winnipeg Arts Council, the Manitoba Arts Council, and Canada Council for the Arts. Oh, cool. Congrats. Somebody just said they have an exhibition at Neutral Ground. Neutral Ground's another one. It's not Indigenous, but it's an awesome arts center. And yeah, we have a lot of foundations we go to. Winnipeg Foundation is a big supporter of our work. So we thank all those who are funders. We have this amazing sponsorship and kind of corporate sponsorship with the University of Manitoba, the School of Art. So we've been trying to do a lot of cross programming, cross promotions. It has slowed down a little bit over COVID, but we're still like doing things together. Hopefully we'll be able to start getting our artists back out there and doing artist talks and stuff. So yeah, so the way we do support the artists is not through commercially purchasing their work. Ours is more kind of from more promotional standpoint, but you know, we really try to provide a professional exhibition for the artists. Sometimes it's a solo exhibition, sometimes it's a group exhibition. And since we are Indigenous, we're mandated for Indigenous artists. We do work, like partner with non-Native organizations, curators, writers, but our focus is always on the artists themselves. So, but I mean, even in that, there's a very large diversity of people, obviously communities across Canada. And also we try to work with the North as possible. Also down South, like with the States, like internationally. And in the last 2 years, there's been a lot of great networking opportunities with other Indigenous curators and galleries in both New Zealand and Australia. So that's been super exciting to be able to start accessing these amazing Indigenous communities around the globe. The other ones that I'm really interested in trying to make some sort of connection with are the Indigenous peoples in Japan, the Sami people up north in the very northern reaches of Europe. There's so many incredible communities that have got such great cultural practices and art production going on. So, sorry, my nose is just dripping every once in a while here. So, I have chronic nose drip. Yeah, and so people do provide us submissions, but I myself do a lot of the research. I think that's the fortunate thing about working in contemporary Indigenous art. It's not as huge pot of people as if it was everybody, native and non-native. But the great thing is that I can keep my tabs on who's working on what over Canada, because it's just so easy to keep track of who's working what and seeing what residencies they are and stuff. And I know there's always kind of a confliction about Facebook, but it really is one of my major tools to contact artists. Because a lot of times people don't tell me that they've changed addresses, changed phone numbers, and now I can't track them down, but I can usually track them down on Facebook. But the great thing is that people are always posting about what they're working on too. So, so kind of have a national reach, and as Liz mentioned, doing studio visits not quite so easy to run over to Newfoundland and see what other people are working on over there. But the fortunate thing is I've also been invited to a lot of grant selection juries and selection committees. And so there's a wealth of information that I gain each time I'm on a jury, because then I get to see what so many people are working on, people I haven't heard of. And yeah, it's just a great way to find out who's doing what at a certain point. Yeah, so we have about 6 to 8 exhibitions per year. We do a lot of extra special projects on top of that. This has been a big year for us. In November, we'll do an official launch, but we just launched our new website. And with the, I guess the silver lining for us during COVID is that we were able to expedite our virtual programming, our digital program. We've always had a vision of trying to get our programming out to remote reserve communities. And it's hard for them to come into the city and sometimes feel comfortable in the gallery. Even if we're an Indigenous gallery, it's just a whole different kind of 2 different worlds, mindsets trying to come together. So, so now we're trying to go out into the community and try to show what Urban does and possibly be a resource for people who maybe don't know so much about art. The wonderful thing is I got to visit several reservations through my time here living in Manitoba. And I found that there's a lot of youth-oriented initiatives for young artists or emerging artists. but I found it was actually a lot of the older artists who are working in seclusion and don't have many art supports. So yeah, I wanted to be able to be able to be a resource for them. And I mean, going out to each community has been so amazing. And unfortunately, for now, our outreach funding is kind of slowly drying up, but we are heading out to Roseau River as our last visit this year. But we are definitely trying to do more visits and kind of have a deeper engagement with a lot of reserve communities. So, but if people want to know more about our work, we do have virtual galleries up for going back to about February. And it really gives you like a really kind of wide spectrum of the type of art we exhibit. It's very alternative, very experimental. It is still based in a lot of cultural ideas from what the artists know of their own histories or their experiences. And so, yeah, there's still, you know, a bit of cultural practices in it, but a lot of times it's kind of like very wacky materials or really kind of out there ideas, kind of not so much based in carving and things like that, but like using like really strange stuff to make a strange idea, which is really fun. There is, Tanny. Hi, Tanny. Hi, Jocelyn. What is the process for the Indigenous Advisory Circle to give counsel to the WAG? How often does it meet? So yeah, I will wrap up my bit of the talk because now we got about 7 minutes and now we can answer questions in general.
So the Indigenous Advisory Circle, they met quite a lot over the last, I'm forgetting when they first formed, but
a couple years ago, I was on it. So.
Yeah. But yeah, they definitely met quite a lot, you know, in leading up to the opening of Kamayok, and definitely they provided a lot of great insight as to, you know, not only like wording around different events and different like, you know, media releases and that sort of thing, and even wording around the opening itself. But they were quite an integral committee. They have not met, I believe, since the opening of Kamayok, but I'm not too sure on the specifics with where that's or when the next meeting will be. But yeah, we also have formed an Inuit advisory committee as well, with Kamayok in mind. And I believe that there was talk too about an elders advisory committee. I'm not sure though where we landed with that, but I'm hoping that will pull through. Yeah,
that's great.
Mm-hmm. Can I add something?
Sure.
One of our biggest marketing tools is our annual arts and crafts sale, where I guess we've been doing it for 9 years now. And our first year we had like 15 artists or so. We had very little in attendance as our inaugural year, but in the last few years, last year, I guess it was COVID, but we didn't have it. But the year before that, we had like 100 artists packed in the rotunda. We had for 2 days solid of visitors, you know, shoulder to shoulder. You know, some of the artists were selling like all their things. You know, people were making really good sales, good networking within the artists. So it was a really good community event. But again, with COVID and restrictions, I don't think we're going to have it again this year. So it'd be like our second year not having it. But it was a fantastic event during the non-COVID year. So hopefully next year we can get back to it. And working with the arts and the history of it, knowing who the artists are, I do a lot of appraisal work now. So I've become an expert in this field, and I do large collections. Like I've done the Manitoba Indigenous Cultural Education Center has a fantastic collection of artifacts and art. If you ever want to go and have a look in there, it's a beautiful building as well. And even the Place L'Uriel, I did their collection of over 1,000 pieces. They had like over $1 million collection in their hotel just from paintings in the rooms. So
that's great. And then I'll just quickly add one thing for urban as well. We are doing our members exhibition in November. It's our annual members exhibition, 5,500. So anybody can participate. Just gotta make sure you have a current membership, and also, or if you want to renew your membership or buy one, it's $20, $25 for regular folks. If you're like a student or little underfunded, it could be $20. And we are asking people to submit up to 2 images. And it's a good way just to get people to help see your work, promote it. It's not like an official exhibition, but it's just a really great service we try to provide to our membership and really kind of promote artists. And you don't have to be Indigenous. You can be Native or non-Native, which is a great thing that we can also kind of branch out and try to support the arts community. So I'm just going to quickly turn it to Arlie to see if there's anything we missed or she wants us to quickly talk to you. But yeah, just say hello once more.
Hi. This is fascinating because it's what I have in front of me. What the three of you represent is an artist's journey. So it's like they meet Jacques and he helps them with their resume and their bio and their initial prints of their work. And then they apply to Urban Shaman to get to be part of a group show or to be part of a show, to make a submission. And then they can come over to Jocelyn and say, visit my studio, look at my stuff and get me in the collection. So it's really representative of all the possibilities for an artist, of anywhere they can go and who they can talk to. And one thing I was wondering is, well, talking about how important community is, which is very strong, I find, and is, I think it's even stronger than in non-Indigenous galleries, the sense of community that an Indigenous worldview, Indigenous curated galleries bring, because you're so involved with people. And I'm wondering, to each of you, what are the most important practices to keep in mind when running or curating an Indigenous gallery?
respect for the product, what you can and can't sell. You shouldn't be selling pipes, you shouldn't be selling medicines, like there's, so to have respect for the product you're handling and to represent it properly.
Yeah, I would say definitely that, and respect for the artist for sure. I really try to support the artists as much as possible, and when they're installing, try to make it a comfortable space for them, because it's kind of, it's kind of hard because you're putting yourself out there and putting your work out there, and we don't want the artists to feel like we're just throwing them to the lions. They're actually feeling like, they have a lot of good support. They're confident in the way the work's being presented. But yeah, it's for sure how I approach it.
Jocelyn?
Yeah, very, very similarly to respecting the artists, and then also the materials too. Like either showing one thing or not showing it as well. And then maintaining like a good connection to the community that you're either representing or that you are exhibiting. So yeah.
Can I bring up a missing link kind of a thing? I know a lot of the grassroots artists are kind of intimidated to apply for grants, to go through the process. So a lot of them don't. But years ago, the Canada Art Council and the Manitoba Art Council got together to do a workshop for Indigenous artists to help them fill out grants. 25 people registered, but I think 2 of us showed up. So again, it's like, okay, where's the medium, how to almost bring that together, if you will. So that's just my 2 cents on seeing a lot of grassroots artists not really applying for grants.
I remember that. I remember we did one with you at the Niganen Center.
Yeah, but years before that, there was one in the Manitoba Arts Council building. And
Ah,
only 2 of us had showed up and 25 or more had registered for it. It's like, so again, it's like, okay, you know, you got to be there to get the help, you know, but then so it was kind of and a lot of them get turned down and then they don't apply again because they kind of get frustrated from that.
Mhm.
do you have any comments on that, Daina? You work a lot with granting and with individual artists applying for grants to be able to put their shows on.
Mhm. Yeah, there's one artist in particular right now I'm trying to support. I think what's like in the past, the granting system was really kind of difficult to navigate.
Mhm.
But I think with the change with Canada Council and the Manitoba Arts Council, they've really taken upon themselves to make it a huge component of their granting system to support Indigenous artists. And so there's easy micro grants now to apply for. So if you just need, you know, a couple thousand to get some materials, those are way easier to access now. And then also there's longer term grants that you can apply for, which are a bit more comprehensive to fill out. But they really kind of slimmed down how to fill those out. But yeah, I usually try to go through it with artists if they're having trouble about how to do that. But I think the hardest part is just getting yourself set up as a profile
Yeah.
on the grant databases. But after that, then it seems to be a little bit easier to start moving through, and you know, you'll get updates on when deadlines are upcoming and stuff like that, which is really kind of helpful. So
Right. And also with through Creative Manitoba, we do run grant writing workshops. Currently, Yvette Senarini is doing a grant writing workshop through MAWA, and her workshop part 2 is tonight, and it's a 3-part workshop. So you can, it doesn't matter if you missed part 1, you can still sign up for part 2. And it's a great resource. Our micro grants part.
what are the micro grants? They are for Indigenous artists. I'm sorry, I should say that. You have to sign up through the I can't remember what the component they call it as, but it's yeah, if you go onto their portal, hopefully Liz is very avidly looking this up right now. This is so great of Liz just to keep adding more information.
Right. For the Canada Council, is creating, sharing, learning.
Yeah, creating, knowing, and sharing.
Creating, knowing, and sharing. Gosh.
Yeah. And then yeah, the Manitoba Arts Council. I think they have the smaller grants, so maybe it's just regular grants. But I know that the micro grants are council for sure.
Yeah. So Liz has put the boot camps for the grant writing with Yvette Senarini that is in the chat, and also mentioned that there is another grant writing workshop coming up with the National Indigenous Media Arts Coalition in the next few months. So keep that in mind and keep checking on their websites.
Yeah.
And usually through Creative Manitoba, we will put out connections so that you can, and links so that you can find these workshops in our newsletter.
Okay, here's the link. Kind of council. So you have to scroll down and look through it to find small scale activities is what it's called.
Because I know sometimes it's frustrating. Like in the past, I've applied twice for photography grants and I got turned down twice. So it kind of makes someone kind of frustrated to even try again, or have a process where they bring you in going, this is what you're missing, or, you know, this is what you should have done. Like there wasn't any really follow up on, you know, how to, maybe this is how you should have filled it out to get the grant, you know, or why didn't you get the grant, you know, kind of a thing, instead of, nope, you didn't get it, you got denied, try again next year, you know, like.
Yeah, it can be harsh.
Yeah.
I've been denied.
And
I understand that feeling.
A lot of and a lot of artists will never apply again because of that, you know.
Yeah. But the thing is just trying to figure out how to keep going, you know, through
Mhm.
it, and if, like how badly do you want to make this project? Because what one grant selection committee will say no to, it can be totally different with a whole different group. And the thing is that I mean, I've been able to kind of walk people through it. But yeah, for sure, the workshops that are held at Creative Manitoba are super helpful for that type of thing. So, but yeah, unfortunately, County Council doesn't give feedback anymore on why the grant wasn't successful. They used to, but they don't do that anymore. So.
Well, there
Great.
are a bunch of grant deadlines coming up. But I would suggest if you are interested in applying for grants, definitely call the organizations and speak to the granting officers. That's what they are there for. Run everything by them because that is their job, and they want to give you the money. They want to help you. They want to say, here, make your art. They want to support you. So do call them. And as for this conversation, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much, Daina and Jacques and Jocelyn. I am so thrilled that you were with us today. And thank you everyone who has participated as an attendee. A lot of good information. And I'll be sending out that link and you can rewatch the talk as you go.
Great. Thank you, Arlie, and thank you, Jocelyn and Jacques, for being a part of it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Have a good
Peace.
afternoon, everyone.
Bye.